how people run around, slide and hit the ball. It looked like a very interesting sport to me. Like it's very different from other sports. My inspiration is Novak Djokovic. He's my favorite tennis player.
Well, in today's story, we see Billy the Bear. And Billy the Bear has just learned that he's gonna have a baby sister.
Feel my way through the darkness. Gotta buy a beating.
Giconyo! My guy!
Mr. Sanjay.
Atito, try what? Try with Agatha. Let me tell you, if I take Agatha back to my village, nitarogo the first day naonekana na yeye.
For us, Kamene is also in a fight, don't they?
Which fight? Who can Kamene fight here? Nobody apart from Kinyanjui who is her size.
Okay,
Someone is in a good mood today.
We've noted that in Kenya, cervical cancer is the second, or let me say it's the second commonest cancer among women.
I gave my consent and my daughter got the vaccine. Since she got the vaccine, she's leading a normal life, just like any other child. I'm not seeing anything unique, anything that has changed in her.
She's not gotten a burst of hair growing from her
No,
ears.
nothing unique.
And that the government has now rolled an initiative for girls from the age of 9 to 14 to get it for free.
Especially from the slums. Then wakikuja huku kwingine.
Wamama tupelekeni watoto, si kwa manyumba lakini kwa hospitali ndio tukaweze kujua zaidi.
Tulishindo kiongea na mdadizi wangu unamtaka. Nadanganya?
Excuse me? Nataka nani?
Mdadizi wangu.
Huyo mzee tunaheshimiana ni kama baba kwangu.
Na wakati wewe nilikwambia uniletee chakula ile mimi nilikuwa nataka inaitwa Lasting Furnace Kevin Sant, ukakosa kuniletea hiyo chakula.
Ati gani?
Wewe kwani wewe waita?
Nakuuliza hakuna si ndio? So kielele ni ya nini umeleta hapa?
Kielele.
Unasikia msichana anaenda date na baba yake. This is for the first time.
Wewe.
Anamaanisha papa mkani.
Wewe tulia.
Sasa si unyamaze usikize. Na wewe mzee na mwili yako yote hii na akili yako. Unakutana na mtu kwa Facebook mara moja na unamwalika.
Hapo ndio napata hatu kwa urahisi.
Na umesema una nyumba sijui ngapi.
Good afternoon. This is Lunchtime News. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We have a comprehensive bulletin lined up. And my name is Jackie Wambiru. Sign language interpreter is Brian Muraru. For interactions, you can reach us at our social media handle at KBC Channel 1. Now, to kick us off, the long-standing conflict between the Degodie and Merule communities in Mandera County has taken a promising turn toward peace and reconciliation. Representatives from both communities and government officials have held a summit where the residents were urged to put aside their differences. Mandera Governor
Kwa sasa hivi kuna wanafunzi wengi hawaendi shule kuanzia Monday mpaka leo. Kuna biashara tumefunga. Tumetorokea mashamba. Sisi watu ya Ramo Sala ni watu ya mashambani. Mpaka jana tulikuwa tunaona watu wanapega matresi yao, watoto wanahamia. That is a very serious thing. Internally displaced persons zaidi sasa kwa pande yote mbili, na hiyo kitu sio maneno mzuri. Tuko na masultan, tuko na waugas, tuko na wazee, tuko na viongozi, sisi ni masameji, sisi maundugu, sisi majirani. Hii maneno kama hii tunafaa kupinga kabisa.
And now, in other news, rural residents have teamed up with Area Member of Parliament Simon Kingara to secure public utilities that are under threat of grabbing by individuals. This comes amid revelations that key public entities, including the Rural Land Registry, the law courts, and 3 main schools have no title deeds.
Nimepeleka mswada bugeni ambao sasa umesomwa mara ya kwanza, unangojea kusoma mara ya pili. Najua serikali ya Daktari William Samoei Ruto wakiungana na mwenza Rigathi Gachagua watatusaidia kupata cheti miliki hasa kwa mashamba ya umma.
Kulingana na the development map ya hii area, ikianza they were set aside as public utilities. Saa hii hatuna title, but we are closely working with the KO to give the title to the CBO, kwa sababu tuko na registered entity CBO, kwa sababu if we don't acquire the legal papers, kesho pengine watu wengine wanaweza ingia na tunaweza ipoteza.
Roads and Transport Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen now says the construction of the 68-kilometer Thika Mangu flyover road will be complete by early next year. Speaking at Kamwangi Town and Gatundu North, the CS said the government has injected sufficient resources into the project and that the contractor is working round the clock to complete it on time. He at the same time urged motorists and boda riders to strictly adhere and comply with the said traffic rules and regulations to curb the rising cases of road carnage.
Sisi tumekubaliana na wizara yetu ya kwamba sisi tutasaidia huyu contractor afikishe hii barabara uko Magumu kwa muda mfupi sana, ndio wananchi wapate services ya mambo ya barabara. Huyu contractor akifika hapa tutamuongelesha, tutaona vile tukumuongezea kitu kidogo asunguke hii town ndio ikuwe kama town ya watu wengine.
Tumeongea na rais, ameitikia. Saa hii tunakuja kufungua hii barabara na rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Alafu tufungue ofisi ya mashamba hapa kwa DC hapa Kamwangi, makofi. Alafu tufungue koti mpya hapa Kamwangi. Sio ni sawa? Vijana wetu waona kazi pia wapate kazi.
On health matters, Health Cabinet Secretary Susan Nakumicha is in Homa Bay County to launch a government's plan to end AIDS in children by 2027. The plan will focus on testing and provision of ARVs to lactating and expectant mothers to help reduce the chance of transfer of the virus to the child. Now, Achola Simon joins us live from Homa Bay County with more details. Achola?
Well, good afternoon and thank you very much, Jackie Wambiru. Indeed, we are in Homa Bay County, and what we're focusing our eyes today is the fact that the health CS Susan Nakumicha will be here in Homa Bay County with the sole agenda of launching the plan to ensure that they end AIDS in children by 2027. Of course, they will be discussing other issues and, of course, the strategies that will lead towards that. But more importantly is that they want to come up, or they have devised strategies that will ensure they actually end AIDS in children by 2027. You'll be asking yourself the numbers that have actually led to this. Statistics indicate that at least 4,000 children are infected in the country each and every year. That, of course, in itself brings to questioning exactly what can actually be done, but also just to try and ensure they can actually fight AIDS in the country. They have actually put up a multi-pronged strategy that will involve, of course, testing, involve fighting gender-based violence, and of course provision of ARVs or medication to ensure that those that are already infected do not spread it to the children. However, those that are yet to be infected, they are also protected in terms of ensuring that they cannot contract the disease. But also importantly, they say that there is a link between gender-based violence and the spread of HIV. They say that those that have actually been affected by gender-based violence, somehow will end up, or they are actually vulnerable in terms of contracting the virus. That, of course, is strategies that are actually putting in place to ensure that they can fight HIV. But, of course, Homa Bay County is one of the counties that have also has high numbers of HIV infection. And we have Atieno here who will actually just give us what they're actually doing in Homa Bay County in terms of fighting HIV in this county. Atieno.
Hi, so my name is Atieno. I work as the communications lead in Homa Bay County. And in terms of HIV, we have a number of interventions in place. One of them is one being led by our governor, who's a champion. It is called the Triple Threat, Triple Elimination Initiative, where we're talking about HIV, we're talking about GBV, and teen pregnancies. You cannot separate HIV from some of these issues. You know, Homa Bay has the highest HIV prevalence rate at the moment, and so far, so many interventions in terms of infant mortality and prevention of mother-to-child transmission is ongoing. The numbers are reducing. As of 2015, the numbers were at about 19%, reduced significantly to right now we're at 5.3%, and this is bound to go even lower, below 5%. And the governor, together with women leaders in this region, have come together, and they are the ones championing the Triple Threat and Triple Elimination Initiative. And this initiative is supposed to, it has certain objectives, and basically at the end of it, they want to reduce the prevalence of the three by 75% by the year 2027.
Fantastic. Yes. So, of course, we don't want to preempt exactly what will be happening here, but of course, it seems a very good plan. Of course, we'll be waiting on the Cabinet Secretary to listen in on what she'll be saying, and of course, the plan. And of course, in our subsequent bulletin, we'll be giving our viewers and listeners a comprehensive stories on what exactly will be discussed and of how the plan will be rolled out. Back to you, Jackie Wambiru.
Well, that is Achola Simon joining us from Homa Bay County, where the Ministry of Health is launching the plan to end AIDS in children by 2027. Now, in other news, stakeholders have amplified and echoed calls for inclusivity as the climate change conversation reaches a fever pitch. They have expressed the need for climate financing to take a more pragmatic approach, and that the government shouldn't just rely on the private sector to finance the climate change resilience, adaptation or mitigation aspects. The group has also pushed for the inclusion of women in the campaign, saying that female folk are the most affected by the climate crisis.
It's a missed opportunity for the Kenyan government, in my view, to have introduced questions at this conference about where the most significant sources of funding should come from. They should come from the countries that contributed most to this climate crisis, not from the people who seem to have driven this entire conference, which are mainly international financial organizations like the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank and the African Development Bank, who instead of focusing on the legal responsibility that those who contributed to this crisis have instead sought refuge in the financial industry, which we know has only contributed to our further indebtedness.
One of the major key takeaways that I'm taking back home to Zimbabwe is, the need for us to apply a third world approach to international law lens to some of these issues that we talk about. And so just applying the 12 approach to the international regime on climate change is very important for us to, just place this argument in the very context that it should be in. When you talk about reparations, when you talk about ecological debt, and just looking at the Bridgetown Initiative, which is the chapter that I worked on, it's very important for Africa to reclaim intellectual leadership and take the lead in discussing what a climate financing agenda for Africa should look like.
Preparations for the annual Mijikenda's Chenda Chenda Festival will take place this Saturday in Kwale County, and the preparations are in full swing. Speaking at the Magarini Cultural Center, the coordinator of Mijikenda Kaya Elders, Tsuma Nzai, called on Kenyans and the whole world to join the elders in Kwale for the celebrations, which are meant to bring together all local communities.
Tumeona kuwa bila kurudi nyuma kufata mila zetu, jamii zetu zinaangamia. Hata saizi watoto wetu hawajui mila zao, heshima hata ya viongozi imepotea. Kwa hivyo tumeona kuwa tuweke hii kauli mbiu kuwa mila zetu ndio nguzo zetu.
Chenda Chenda imeunganisha Mijikenda wa mkoa wetu wa Pwani na wale wakazi wa Pwani, wa bara wa Pwani. Tumeungana Kenya nzima wajenge mila na desturi za Mijikenda. Tuungane pamoja, tujue taratibu za Mijikenda ni nini. Vizazi vyetu vinavyokuja pia ni vizazi ambavyo vitatufuata sisi.
Madamu Achani, gavana wetu mstahiki, tunakuomba sherehe hizi zinakuja kwako nyumbani Kwale. Wewe ndio utakayekuwa ni mgeni wa sherehe hizi. Kwa heshima na taadhima tunakuomba utualikie wageni wetu kutoka tabaka zote nchini Kenya.
Chenda Chenda! Chenda Chenda!
And now on education matters, parents in Nyatike sub-county have called upon the government to alleviate the financial burden of education in the country, especially to learners from financially disadvantaged families. They made their remarks during the issuance of bursaries by Mwangaza Education Scholarship through the Nyatike Constituency Development Fund. The fund's chairman, Felix Olo, said that 183 learners from Nyatike sub-county who will be joining technical training colleges will benefit from the Mwangaza Education Scholarship. He disclosed that the CDF has allocated a total of 5 million shillings for this initiative, which will span for 3 years.
I've just been hustling through ups and downs. I even decided to go get married, but I found it was not easy there. So when I found this opportunity, I'm really happy to go back to school because I've been outside for that long because of lack of fees. My parents couldn't afford. I'm so happy to go back to school.
Kwa ukweli kabisa, gharama ya masomo nchini imeenda juu kabisa. Nafikiri kwa sababu ya gharama ya maisha pia imepanda, na to be sincere, wanafunzi ambao wanatoka katika familia ambazo ni za chini inakuwa ngumu kwao kumudu hii gharama ya masomo, na pengine wengi wao huenda wamekata tamaa, na sisi tunahesabu hii kama baraka.
Nampa shukran kwa sababu amenitendea mazuri. Sikuwahi amini kuwa ninaweza kufika hata kuendelea na masomo yangu. Kwa sababu ya ukosefu wa pesa nilipata kuolewa, na sasa niko na watoto 4. lakini kwa sasa nina furaha tele kwa sababu naona ni kama Mungu ashani bariki kwa kutoka kwa mkono wa mheshimiwa.
Here purposely to flag off Mwangaza beneficiaries who are going to Mawego National Polytechnic. Mwangaza is a program that was started by Honorable Tom Mboya Odege to uplift education standards in Nyatike. And we have many other institutions, but specifically today we are here for Mawego, where over 250 students had benefited before. Majority of them had graduated, and a few are yet to graduate at the end of this year. Now we are having 183 beneficiaries who are going to begin their studies at Mawego.
A businessman in Nairobi's Kayole area has blamed the local member of parliament for paying goons to vandalize his bar business on the accusation that he was dealing with illicit liquor. Isaiah Mwangi claims that goons under the MP's instruction raided his business premises and took off with items worth 2.6 million shillings, including liquor, electronics and mattresses. The businessman further claims that he and some of his employees were assaulted during the incident.
Mali yangu iliporwa hii ya waini yote hii, na huku wakafunja wakapola. Ile kitu wanasema nauza pombe haramu, lakini hawakudhibitisha juu hakuna askari wote alikuja na vijana, na hata hawakunipigia simu. Walianza kupola mali immediate wakati alifika. Hakuna mambo ilikuwa kuna pombe haramu walikuwa napigana nayo, ama kuna pombe haramu wadhibitisha ilikuwa.
Wewe kama unafanya biashara ya bar na unajua ile pombe unauza sio mzuri, ni ile pombe haramu yenye haijaruhusiwa na Kenya Bureau of Standards, wewe jua tutafunga hizo biashara.
More than 350,000 people have so far registered in the ongoing Inua Jamii program across the country, 8 days since the exercise began. Speaking in Kilifi County during the exercise, Principal Secretary for Social Protection and Senior Citizen Affairs, Joseph Mutari, commanded the large turnout, assuring the public that every qualified person will be enlisted in the government financial support initiative that targets vulnerable persons in the society.
Queues of persons, among them orphans with disabilities and elderly people of over 70 years and above, have been witnessed in parts of the country in the government's Inua Jamii program registration exercise. This is Ngiranya Registration Center in Kilifi County. The government says there has been a large turnout of citizens.
Serikali imeanza na mmeona nyinyi wenyewe kwamba hii ni mradi ya kuwekea hao wakongwe wetu pesa mfukoni. Hapa mmeona walemavu ambao wana ile tunaita severe disabilities. Hapa kuna wale yatima wameacha na mama zao. Hawa ni watu ambao wanahitaji hizo fedha ili ziongezee maisha, waishi maisha ambayo ni mazuri.
Principal Secretary for Social Protection and Senior Citizen Affairs Joseph Mutari, accompanied by Kilifi North MP Owen Baya, said there has been tremendous support from the local administration for the smooth and fast running of the exercise.
Hata wazee waishi miaka mingi kwa sababu watakuwa wanaweza kujinunulia dawa, kujinunulia chakula ili waishi hata wakati wa uzee waishi kwa heshima. Yaani hii program ni kupeana wa heshima hawa wazee wetu. Na mimi nataka kusema asante sana PS na kumshukuru Rais kwa ile kazi nzuri ambayo anafanya.
In the last 8 days since the exercise began, 350,000 citizens have been listed. The program targets vulnerable persons who largely face difficulties in meeting their needs by receiving financial support from the government. The one-month-long exercise, coming to a close end of September, target to enlist at least 500,000 people.
Well, that report by Giverson Minor brings us to our first break here on Lunchtime News. Don't go too far, we still have more news coming up.
week on What's in Your Kitchen, our guest cook Linda Achieng takes us on a boat ride in Lake Naivasha and shows us where her love for fish comes from.
Achieng, yes. Umesema ufanye nini huko kwa maji? Okay, you can swim.
At the Lelani Annex Naivasha, she shared a bit of her life background story and her cooking skill.
Then we have some curry powder as well.
Curry powder kidogo.
Just a little bit. Be careful. Yes, because I've seen some fire jump there. That is called flambéing.
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 So tukiona moto tujue flambéing. Salivate this delicious meal on your screen while taking notes for the recipe.
Ukiongea na mdadizi wangu unamtaka, nadanganya?
Excuse me? Nataka nani?
Mdadizi wangu.
Huyo mzee tunaheshimiana, ni kama baba kwangu.
Na wakati wewe nilikwambia uniletee chakula ile mimi nilikuwa nataka inaitwa Lasting Furnace Kevin Sant, ukakosa kuniletea hiyo chakula.
Ati gani?
Wewe kwani wewe waita?
Nakuuliza hakuna, si ndio? So kielele ni nini umeleta hapa?
Kielele.
Unasikia msichana anaenda date na baba yake. This is for the first time.
So wewe
anamaanisha papa mkani.
Wewe tulia.
Sasa si unyamaze usikize. Na wewe mzee na mwili yako yote hii na akili yako unakutana na mtu kwa Facebook mara moja na unamwalika
hapo ndo napata hatu kwa urahisi.
Na umesema una nyumba sijui ngapi.
Alafu kisha wewe wafikira mimi nitakuogopa? Mara mtoto wa Zito, mke wake Zito. What nonsense. Sasa sikia nikwambie. Listen to me and listen to me good. You either get out from here or I do something that you will regret for the rest of your life. Got that? Now leave.
Mimi sikubali. Siwezi ondoka paka matumeza ndoto wangu.
Wewe nenda. Toka nje.
Siwezi ondoka.
Alafu sasa sikiza nikwambie. Wewe ni clients kama clients wengine, umenisikia?
Wasemaje? Wasemaje?
Maini. Jaribu kunigusa uone.
Sikiza Jamal. Shamsa is my wife. Achana naye. Sawa. Achana na Shamsa.
Welcome back. This is Lunchtime News. The Media Council of Kenya and Meru County Conservation have partnered to plant about 500 seedlings of fruit trees in schools in Meru County. Media Council of Kenya manager in the Mount Kenya region, Jackson Karanja, said that the partnership is meant to ensure that people in the media industry adhere to the presidential directive of planting trees. He also said that they are targeting to plant about 500 fruit tree seedlings in primary schools within Meru region.
Tukumbuke kwamba tuko na jukumu la kupanda miti. Miti hii itatusaidia katika kuhifadhi mazingira, na tukumbuke kwamba kuna ile himizo kutoka kwa rais wetu William Ruto ya kupanda miti 15 billion trees kabla ya mwaka wa 2032. So sisi kama baraza tumechukua jukumu hilo, na hivi leo tutakuwa tukipanda miti hii tukijaribu ku take part katika initiative ya ku conserve the environment.
I urge some other organizations to come up with the same initiative so that at least we can meet the target by the end of that too.
Association of Medical Engineering of Kenya has called on both county and national governments to address the acute shortage of biomedical engineers in the medical facilities. Now, the engineers say the shortage has been attributed to delays in service delivery and equipment inefficiency. The association is now calling for Parliament to fast-track legalization process, paving way for the formation of a biomedical engineers regulatory body. AMEC is organizing the first Africa Region Biomedical Engineering and Healthcare Technology Conference and exhibitions in Nairobi that bring together over 200 biomedical engineers from over 20 countries. Now, the 3-day conference ends today.
What we're coming here to do is share experiences, both Africa and the world. So it is going to bring expertise that is going to make sure people exchange ideas of innovations and inventions that we want Africa to start producing equipment.
We need to have a robust system whereby this are robust capacity building for the biomedical engineers across the country, and then we'll be able to take care of the equipment together. Just talking about that, we have a line on the universal health coverage that I know right now is a big agenda that Ministry of Health is actually focusing on. And so for us to ensure that we support the agenda of the universal health coverage, the Ministry of Health, through the government through the Ministry of Health is supposed to support the biomedical engineers.
The challenge that Kenya is having is similar across other African countries in terms of employment of biomedical engineers and regulation. And I believe that together as regional body, we can have a very meaningful impact rather than doing it individually.
And now let's talk business. Stakeholders in the mining sector are calling for a reduction in proposed fees for transfer of mining rights to open up the mining sector and attract foreign investors. Patrick Kanyoro, chairman of Kenya Chamber of Mines, says there have been no activities in the sector since the 2019 moratorium on mining, adding that the better approach is to allow people to get the license and gradually increase the fees as mining activities continue.
In 2019, the government issued a moratorium on mineral mining to safeguard Kenyans' interest in mining, following speculations on availability of substantial mineral deposits. As the Kenya government prepares to lift the moratorium, a proposed charge of Kenyan shillings 5 million on the transfer of mining rights is projected to be a barrier to foreign investments into the sector.
It is very difficult to talk about developing an economy through minerals if we are not going to do very, very elaborate exploration. And if we put roadblocks or barriers to people coming in to explore, then it means that we'll not be able to discover minerals, and therefore we cannot develop the mineral sector.
Kanyoro added that Kenya is competing with other mining countries and risks losing potential investors to other countries in the region. On artisanal and small-scale miners, Kanyoro urged the government to give miners some leverage to get back into the business and make positive contributions to the economy.
It is important that government takes proactive action, otherwise we'll be seen to be disenfranchising the small and the artisanal and small-scale miners.
Johnston Mudama, Parliamentary Service Commissioner at Gemstone Trader, said royalties should be paid within 120 days.
Now, soldier ahead nihakikishe kwamba haki imepatikana. Kwa hivyo tupelekeni slowly. Mimi ninasema royalty nje. Mambo ya leseni angalieni nao wananchi wakilia, sikilizeni wanasema nini.
Edna Murungi for Lunchtime News.
The government should prioritize cushioning of vulnerable communities from the adverse effects of climate change. Pan-African Climate Justice Alliance says Kenya and other African nations should engage communities in programs geared towards fighting climate change as the entire continent pushes for more funding for climate mitigation and adaptation projects.
After the Africa Climate Summit in Kenya, gears now shift to the upcoming United Nations Climate Change Conference COP28, set to be held from November 30th to 12th December in Dubai. The Nairobi Declaration calls on world leaders to back global taxes to fund climate action, even as African countries champion justice in climate financing. An environmental activist is urging them to prioritize vulnerable communities in climate mitigation programs.
We've seen commitments, but where is the money? You know, when we speak about these wonderful figures, we're speaking about hundreds of billions of dollars. We are saying we are investing. Where's the resourcing?
Quickly reflecting on the context.
The context that we are operating in is a context where global leaders are sort of running away from their promises.
Pan-African Climate Justice Alliance PACJA, which launched its Road to COP28 campaign, says there is need to amplify the voices of communities in Africa affected by the adverse effects of climate change.
I'd like to call out governments, civil society, all the actors to really place emphasis on research and look at the issues of inclusivity.
So let's use that either for voting or for holding our leaders accountable to keep their promises and to be able to include climate change in their manifestos.
Africa gets about 12% of the $300 billion in financing needed annually.
All eyes shift attention to the upcoming United Nations Climate Change Conference slated for 30th November to 12th December this year in Dubai, with Kenya and the entire Africa urging global financing institutions to climate change to honor their promises.
Low literacy levels are to blame for the poor uptake of insurance uptake in the country. Jubilee Health Insurance says the situation has further been attributed to low disposable income in the country's lack of innovation in insurance distribution. The company says it has launched an aggressive campaign to encourage more people to buy health and life insurance to deal with health emergencies.
Insurance uptake remains low in Kenya compared to other peer economies in Africa. According to the 2022 quarter statistics by the Insurance Regulatory Authority, penetration stands at 2.3%, which is below the global average of 7.0%. In Kenya, the low uptake is also attributable to the fact that insurance is still seen as a luxury and mostly taken when it is necessary or a regulatory requirement. Jubilee Health Insurance is urging institutions of higher learning to have a comprehensive health insurance curriculum in a bid to help learners understand their health insurance options.
As students, we also need to look at post-campus. And this post-campus cover is what we want them to continue so that then it can be a cover that they can have it for generations to come.
The company says it has launched an aggressive campaign to encourage more people to buy health and life insurance policies to deal with health emergencies.
These are a couple of the factors that we think are key contributors. The issue of affordability is critical, and of course, as the cost of care are higher, then it results in a higher cost for health insurance as well, and also the issue of culture. But we strongly believe that these are issues that we can deliberately and consistently address together.
The Jubilee Health Insurance CEO Njeri Jomo is urging institutions of higher learning to consider re-evaluating their curriculum and incorporating health insurance courses. Insurance experts are, however, calling on policymakers to foster partnerships to empower Kenyans.
We want to create, in partnership with Jubilee, a certificate course, right, that people can be able to come from, a short course, 2-3 months, affordable courses, to be able to teach more about insurance and help this sector grow.
Frederick Moki for Lunchtime News.
Banks in Kenya will be required to reveal the investments and impact they make on the environment in their financial statements. This is after the banking industry has adopted the bank's climate-related financial disclosures template that will help the lenders communicate their approach to climate-related risks and opportunities. Kenya Bankers Association CEO Habil Olaka says the new template will help banks enhance transparency in climate-related transactions.
These principles have aligned the banks in terms of establishing, creating, their operations within the banking sector to ensure that they are aligned to the concerns of sustainability, which means that you have got then to balance the economy's priorities. You've got to balance the social and environmental concerns, and then also you've got to balance your business goals.
And this is a very important tool that is recognized globally
as a framework for the banking sector to be able to disclose their climate-related risks, opportunities, and financial impacts. And this is an important milestone towards delivering sustainable finance within the banking sector.
The government has started a plan to reform the ICT sector through policy and legal reviews. Information, Communications and the Digital Economy Cabinet Secretary Eli Dualo says there is a need to align the industry with emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency and blockchain technologies. Trevor Ngendo with the details.
Despite significant advancements in the internet and technology over the last 3 decades, key legal frameworks such as the Kenya Broadcasting Act, Kenya Information and Communication Act, and Postal Corporation of Kenya Act are considered outdated and unable to keep tabs on emerging trends.
We are actually 25 years down the line, and we are still operating on the basis of those legal foundations. It is therefore significant that these laws be looked at objectively in the face of the prevailing situation at the moment.
Information, Communication and Digital Economy Cabinet Secretary Eli Dualo says it is necessary to review existing policy frameworks to capture new emerging trends. The ministry has formed a 42-member working task force comprising experts in various domains to review the existing policy, administrative and operational structures and recommend reforms in the sector within the next 6 months.
With clear timelines, clear responsibility centers, clear expected outputs, output indicators and targets, time-bound targets.
The ministry says there is urgent need for integrated approaches to legal and policy reforms to ensure synergy and eliminate multiplication of roles and redundancies. As this team begins its work, all eyes are now on Kenya's ICT sector, as Kenya aims to position itself as a regional leader in the digital economy, as enshrined in Kenya Kwanza's bottom-up economic transformation agenda. Trevor Ngendo for Lunchtime News.
The county government of Kilifi plans to improve its fisheries sector to drive social economic development in the county. Speaking while donating 18 engine-propelled boats for use in offshore fishing activities, Kilifi Governor Gideon Mungaro said equipping the sector would help improve performance in the county's fisheries subsector and give more revenues to the entire value chain.
Nina imani kubwa kwamba vifaa hivi kama matunzo na matumizi mazuri, vikitunzwa na kutumiwa vizuri, vitasaidia pakubwa kuunda nafasi za ajira zaidi, si kwa vijana tu bali hata kwa akina mama na wazee wetu.
Wavuvi walikuwa wanalalamika kuhusiana na mradi hapa kwa sababu kupeleka vifaa vao baharini ilikuwa ni kazi ngumu, ambao kwamba wanateseka kupeleka mashini, wengine wanapakia mgongoni, wengine kwa mikokoteni.
Tuna jukumu la kuhakikisha ahadi zilizowekwa tunapotumwa tunatimiza. Mstahiki Gavana, tunajaribu sana kufuata spidi yako ambayo ni kali sana, lakini sisi tuko nyuma yako.
Milk farmers in Embu County are set to benefit from increased storage capacity following the delivery of 2 milk coolers worth 19 million shillings to Mborogo Dairy Farmers Cooperative Society. The coolers that have a capacity of 5,000 litres will see more milk mopped up, minimize spoilage and ensure the quality of milk is maintained up to the time it is delivered to the market.
Embu County is one of the top milk producing counties in the country. The delivery of 2 cooling plants under the National Agriculture and Rural Inclusive Growth Project is set to boost dairy farming by reducing post-harvest losses. Speaking while commissioning the coolers, Governor Cecily Mbarira said the station will take up more milk from farmers and contribute to the overall growth of the cooperative and better returns to farmers.
They already have 11,000 litres za cooler. Tumeongezea 10, so they are 21,000. Kwa hivyo wataweza sasa kupata mahali ya kuweka maziwa yao na waweze kuuza mahali wanataka, na hiyo ni jambo moja ya zile programs tuko nazo katika Embu County.
The Cooperative Chief Executive Officer Kennedy Njagi pointed out that they will link farmers with experts for training on best farming practices to increase yields and also financial organizations for credit facilities. He announced that milk prices for farmers will increase from 47 shillings to 50 shillings per litre delivered at the milk plant.
Tuna viungo vinavyotumika kwa kuongeza uzalishaji, chakula cha ng'ombe, cha mifugo, tuna viini tofauti, pia tunawaunganisha wakulima na wafadhili wengine wanawapatia pesa ya kusaidia kuongeza ukuzaji wa maziwa.
The euro is on course for an 8th straight week of losses against the dollar as investors respond to a widening gulf between a faltering economy in the eurozone and more robust growth in the US. The currency has lost more than 5% since mid-July to trade at $1.07.
The steady weakening of the euro is intensifying doubts over whether the European Central Bank will raise interest rates again as it's meeting next week amid widespread signs that the eurozone economy is heading for a downturn. The US data is coming at a time when the European manufacturing sector is very weak. Some investors think the looming recession signs in Europe will make it hard for the ECB to lift borrowing costs one more time, even if it thinks it is necessary to bring inflation down to its 2% target. Core inflation, which excludes more volatile energy and food prices and is closely watched by the central bank, remains far above target at 5.3%. Investors are now talking about the euro area experiencing a period of stagflation. Investors are now talking about the euro area experiencing a period of stagflation, high inflation combined with stagnating economic growth. Steady decline against dollar reflects growing gulf with more robust US performance. Elsewhere, South Korean chip maker SK Hynix is investigating how two of its memory chips mysteriously ended up inside the Mate 6.0 Pro smartphone launched by Huawei last week. Shares in Hynix fell more than 4% on Friday after it emerged that two of its products, a 12GB LPDDR5 chip and 512GB NAND flash memory chip, were found inside the Huawei handset by Tech Insights, a research organization based in Canada specializing in semiconductors, which took the phone apart for analysis. Insiders are pointing at a scenario where Huawei may have had a stockpile of components accumulated before the US export caps kicked in fully. In 2019, the US government banned American companies from selling software and equipment to Huawei. It also restricted international chip makers using US-made technology from working with the company. Finally, shares in Apple have fallen for a second day in a row after reports that Chinese government workers have been banned from using iPhones. The firm's stock market valuation has fallen by more than 6%, or almost $200 billion in the last 2 days. China is the technology giant's third largest market, accounting for 18% of its total revenue last year. It is also where most of Apple's products are manufactured by its biggest supplier, Foxconn. The reports came ahead of the launch of the iPhone 15, which is expected to take place on 12th September. There has been no official statement from the Chinese government in response to the report. Apple has the world's highest stock market valuation, standing at close to $2.8 trillion. Shares in some of Apple's suppliers have also fallen.
on sports news, Kale Rovanpera took an early lead on the Acropolis rally by winning Thursday's evening super special stage in his Toyota GR Yaris. The world champion heads Hyundai drivers Esapeka Lapi and Thierry Neuville after the short city stage race.
Looking to bounce back after crashing out his home event, Rovanpera will have been preferable for Rovanpera as he opened the road. However, the amount of rainfall that Greece has experienced over the past few days makes it less clear what position on the road will be preferable. Lapi was the first of a closely matched Hyundai trio, just 0.1 seconds faster than teammate Thierry Neuville, with Danny Sodo a further 0.1 seconds back. Laban Marima for Lunchtime News.
And Elvin Evans hunting down our championship leader.
Yeah, there's a trio of championship challenges, isn't there, for me? And
Chapadimba soccer tournament continues its thrilling journey this weekend as it heads to Siaya and Kisii counties for the Nyanza County finals. Ambira Mobimba from Siaya and Small Simba from Kisii are among the teams to watch out for in the county finals.
Tomorrow, Siaya County will set the stage for an electrifying opening match between Jera girls from Ugenya and VSA girls from Game that will take place at Siaya KMTC grounds. The boys will battle it out in the afternoon with Ambira Mobimba Secondary School from Ugunja taking on St. Peter's Wangai Mixed Secondary School from Game. On Sunday, Kisii Queens will face off against Kenyanya Moteiribe FC, while Small Simba will go head-to-head with their rivals Ichunyi FC at Sameta grounds. The winning team in both boys and girls category will each take home 75,000 Kenyan shillings, while the runners-up will each take home 30,000 Kenyan shillings. Meanwhile, Homa Bay, Migori, Kisumu and Nyamira County finals are said to be played in the coming weekends before accumulating into the inter-county playoffs. The inter-county winners will then proceed to the regional final set for 30th of September and 1st of October this year. A total of 530 teams, including 412 boys teams and 180 girls teams featured in the Nyanza region grassroots games, played in the world level. For Lunchtime News, I am Faith Akinyi.
France made a giant leap towards the Euro 2024 finals as they maintained their perfect qualifying record with a 2-0 home victory over Ireland on Thursday. Denmark, meanwhile, cruised to an easy 4-0 win over San Marino as Poland recorded a 2-0 victory over Faroe Islands.
The Republic of Ireland slim hopes of qualifying for Denmark secured 3 points in European Championship qualifiers after a comfortable 4-0 victory over San Marino.
American teenager Coco Gauff reached her first US Open singles final after beating Karolina Muchova in 2 straight sets. She wrapped up a 6-4, 7-5 win over Muchova and will face second seed Aryna Sabalenka in Saturday's final.
American teenager Coco Gauff reached her first US Open singles final after defeating Karolina Muchova 6-4, 7-5. The match was interrupted 11 victories in a row, the best streak of her career, and won 17 of her past 18 matches. Meanwhile, the drama was confined to the tennis court in the second semi-final when Australian Open champion Sabalenka dug deep to beat Madison Keys, love 6, 7-6, 7-6 and prevent an All-American showpiece in New York.
Her first U.S. Open final.
Well, that brings us to the end of our bulletin this afternoon. Thank you for choosing Lunchtime News. For more news, check out our website at kbc.co.ke. My name is Jackie Wambiru. Sign language interpreter is Brian Muraro. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon.